All right, one of the videos I was trying to get to, so I'm glad I've been able to reach these lofty goals of this video. So yeah, I was trying to get to this video for a minute. Brandon Ingram, the trade with Kawhi Leonard is put on hold. Now, a couple people brought to my attention. This happened to former Detroit Pistons Joe Smith, former number one overall pick of the Golden State Warriors. I think he was out of Maryland. You know what I'm saying? And the Timberwolves were paying them under the table. They found out, but I'm gonna say that for another video. It'll make sense in a minute. So basically the trade got put on hold. The expectations is they told them something else. You know what I'm saying? They told them something completely else. Like, okay, the deal can go through, and then I guess something happened in the developments where they found something, and now, the expectation is something similar to the, well, how about this? He's not as tough as David Stern, but the expectation is that Kawhi's deal going to get voided. Now, before we even get to that point, to be honest, when we was past that point, we thought the trade was official, like a referee whistle. The other funny thing about it was the Clippers was trying to reroute him. So regardless, the Clippers were trying to reroute him. So there were talks that the Clippers didn't want to hold on to Brandon Ingram. And maybe when the trade was official, they possibly were going to get a third team. Okay. So, so that's something to think about as well. And in general, when you talk about Brandon Ingram, I think he's a guy like one of the few dookies that I do like. Seemed to be a real cool dude. He kind of had some playoff issues last year. Got injured in Game 7. Didn't play well in the playoffs. Now, I'm not sure, how often he's been in the playoffs. And I know if you don't play well in the playoffs, your first time there, you ain't shit. That's what y'all telling me. During injury, he did it 2 times, and he ain't that good. And I get it. But I'm gonna believe that people can get better, and I've seen people in the NBA get better and bust through their playoff thing. So he's been there 3 times. 2021, 2022, with the Pelicans. I mean, he shot 50% from 2. He shot 40% from 3. In 6 games, he averaged 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. That second year he was 26, 23, 24. I mean, he played 4 games. So, I mean, he had 14 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds. He shot terrible from the field, 36%. From 3, he shot 25%, 36 minutes. And then this year in Toronto, I mean, it was abysmal. 5 games, 12 points, 31% from 2, 38% from 3. He was just horrible. Now, I'm assuming that possibly he was injured already, but the previous year, I have no explanation. They got swept. But that first year, he was balling. He was balling that first year. So, but yeah, I mean, but in general, I like it. I mean, I think his contract is digestible too, and that's why you like it. But I think he's a guy. If you put him in a situation with a guy next to Cade, I think they'd be able to feed him. He kind of one of them dudes that like to handle the ball a lot too. That's one thing about Brandon Ingram. He's a guy that likes to handle the ball a lot. So kind of having a traditional point guard with him, it don't really like. It's interesting. He can catch and shoot, and he can do some of those things. But for the most part, kind of like one of the guys that like to get his own shot. I think if they can help him move and catch and shoot a little bit more post up, I think I think he'd be even better here. I think he'd be better here with Detroit and Cade Cunningham, and I think he'd be better here, honestly. But I get where people are pretty much saying. I get what people is pretty much saying that what he ain't done, what he hasn't done, in the playoffs. But we've had people like Scottie Pippen who ain't been well in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? We've had, and he ended up being a pretty good playoff performer. I mean, and there's other people who had to break through play. I mean, Peyton Manning, I know it's a different sport. Peyton Manning, he was one of those dudes that he was horrible on the play, but he got over the hump. You know, you know, he got over the hump. He got over that hump. So I think, I'm a believer that guys can get over the hump. I know we in the microwave era where a lot of people believe that I know a lot of people believe that you're a finished product at 20, 23, 24 years old, and you'll get no better. You can never figure it out. And I get y'all. I definitely do, but that ain't life. You know, that is not life. But I like him here. I think it's a good fit for him. I think it's a good fit for y'all to see Glorilla. I'm joking, but I really think it's a good fit for the Pistons, man. I think you can get them. I think a lot of the damage have been done. Whether you go to LA and they was already talking about moving them, whether you go to the Clippers and or go to stay in the Raptors, and then you can get them for a good price. I really do. I think you can get them for a good price. So but he 28, probably 29, but he has some injury issues. Once again, that's just another one of the things where you start talking about Brandon Ingram, you start talking about the injury issues, and it's like, okay, man, it's like the common thing from everybody we talked about this offseason. But he played 77 games this year. So, I mean, all-star, 21 points a game. I mean, obviously you can see that up here. 5 rebounds, almost 6, 4, 48, almost 48% from the field, 38% from three. I mean, I think he'd do well here. When you go look at his contract, let's pull that up. I think he'd do well here. I think he's a good fit. Like I said, I think you can get him for the low ski, and I think the risk is not that bad because the contract is not. I think he got a 3-year deal, so he got 2 years left. So you got some commitment there. And the money is not crazy. Oh, he got a player option next year, so that may, kind of like, but 40 million next year, that's not bad by today's standard. And he make about 42 next year. I'm 30 years old. So, I mean, yeah, you could lose him for nothing in the player option, but I mean, at this point, you get a seasoned veteran, get a guy that can score, can shoot. I think got some good defensive potential as well, too. But hey, man, let me know what y'all think, man. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Appreciate the love, support. Peace.